What's up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my Draftkings MMA picks for UFC Vegas 20. We have Cyril Gane versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Which should be a decent card. I don't think it's going to be as exciting as last week, which last week was crazy. Finish after finish after finish after finish after finish. I don't think I've ever seen DraftKings scores that high. And I did finish 9th in the 150 max. And I scored 707 DraftKings points in that lineup. And I'll tell you what, any other given night, that would have been a takedown. So kind of sucks there, but still 9th place, really can't complain. The winning lineup had 735 DraftKings points, which is absolutely unheard of. I think this card is going to be completely opposite. I do see a lot of decisions, but regardless, it's going to be fun. Hopefully win some money. As always, I do want to give a shout out to Karma Media. Go head over there to Karma Media and subscribe. I'll put the link in the description. I'm going to be over there a lot. I'm going to be doing a DraftKings video, some other live streams as well with some very sharp guys over there. And then I'm going to be doing a Saturday live stream, kind of like a live before lock thing, so you guys can ask any questions. I can answer any final questions, come in there, talk fight. So go head over to Karma Media and subscribe there. I'm going to be doing a lot of extra content on there in the near future, starting this week. So go over there. I'll put the link in the description below. And as always, if you can leave a like on the video, helps out a ton. Subscribe if you have not yet, helps out a ton. Trying to reach 10K, hopefully by 259, which is going to be next week. So have some way to go, but I think we can hit it. Need a little bit less than 200 subscribers. So if you do enjoy my content, please hit the sub button. It really does help out a ton. So with that said, we're going to start the video here, and we're going to get into the fight doesn't go to decision lines. And yeah, it's kind of the complete opposite of last week. I see a lot of decisions this week. Last week, the majority of the fights finished. I think there was like 3 fights out of, what was there, like 11 fights last week that all went to decision. So only 3 fights, but I can see the majority of the fights here going to decision. But up top, we got Gane Rozenstruik, minus 265. Fight doesn't go to decision. A fight I really do think finishes, and a fight that I'm probably most confident that it does finish. We have 2 heavyweights here, 2 guys that are finishers. I know a lot of people think that Gane's kind of a decision guy. I don't necessarily agree with that. He does have an 86% finish rate. He's finished 6 out of his 7 wins there. Rozenstruik, same thing, 91% finish rate, 91% all coming by knockout. And I do have a pretty decent lean to the Gane side, but this is heavyweight, and it only takes 1 shot. We saw it last week. Derek Lewis landed, I want to say, like 3 or 4 strikes, but it only takes that one, and Rozenstruik does have that one-punch power that could put out a guy like Gane. So I'll be playing both sides here. Definitely a stronger lean on the Gane side, but Rozenstruik at 7,200 is not a bad way to look there. Next, we have Ankalaev versus Krylov, minus 185. So the thing here is, I do think it ends inside the distance just because of the style of Krylov in 34 fights. I want to say he's been to decision like 2 times, and those were his last 2 fights. So before that, he's either getting finishes or getting finished himself. A 97% finish rate, which is the highest on the entire slate. 41% by knockout, 6% by submission for Krylov. Ankalaev, somebody that has a 57% knockout rate, 7% by submission for a 64% finish rate total. So I want to say Krylov has a better chance of finishing. I can honestly see an Ankalaev decision, but I don't know. Krylov is very tough. He's very durable. He's only been knocked out once, and that was in 2013. I don't see Ankalaev submitting him. Krylov has been submitted 5 times, so I wouldn't be shocked if Ankalaev did take a decision here. But as far as the finishing upside goes, I kind of feel like it's more on the Krylov side. But yeah, definitely a fight I want to target, and we'll talk about it a lot. I think if either guy wins, I feel like it scores very well just with the pace that Krylov brings. And Ankalaev is kind of more of a low-volume guy, but I do think that Krylov is going to bring some volume out of him. He's going to really push that fight, especially with these guys in the smaller cage. I would not be shocked in the slightest if there was a finish. But I think if there is a finish, it's going to be coming more from the Krylov side. But maybe Ankalaev does knock him out. But like I said, Krylov has never been knocked out at light heavyweight. So something to think about there. All right, we have Jacoby and Grishin, minus 130. Fight doesn't go to decision. I kind of see this going the distance. Jacoby, if there is a finish, I do think it's from the Jacoby side. Jacoby has very good calf kicks. He's going to be the better striker. He's going to be throwing more volume as well. I guess the only thing I'm concerned about is if Grishin wants to push Jacoby against the cage, maybe take him down, but I just don't see that enough in Grishin's game there. I like Jacoby here. I'm just not sure if he's going to be able to finish or not. Grishin has been knocked out before, though. In 41 fights, he's been knocked out 3 times. He's been submitted 3 times, so maybe Jacoby does catch him. If there is a finish on either side, I do think it comes from the Jacoby side. So I do like Jacoby. As far as Grishin goes, I think he's going to be really low owned. If he does take Jacoby down, I think he has a lot of success. But like I said, that's just not something I've really seen in his game. So I do lean to the Jacoby side, but Grishin's a decent play, I guess. Next, we have Alex Oliveira versus Ramazan Kurmagomedov. And yeah, this is a fight I actually feel like could finish. Kurmagomedov, obviously undefeated, 8-0. Never been knocked out, never been submitted. Undefeated guy coming in here. He's taken a massive step up in competition. Oliveira has, 32 fights on his record. He's fought some really tough guys. The thing I don't like about Oliveira is so low output. In his last fight against Shavkat, he didn't really look like he wanted to be there, so I really question where his head's at. But Kurmagomedov, he's really hittable. So if Oliveira can, land something clean, I wouldn't be shocked if Oliveira actually got a knockout here. As far as Kurmagomedov goes, don't necessarily see a finish coming from his side. I think if he wins, it's going to be a volume-based decision, just going out there, throwing more volume than Oliveira, possibly getting takedowns as well. But yeah, definitely a fight I do want to look at because it's right in that mid-range. But really not a strong lean on either side there. But I actually do think it has somewhat finish potential. All right, getting into the core plays here, we have Ciryl Gane sitting at 9,000. Yeah, definitely a core play for me. I think he's the better fighter everywhere. I think he's the better fighter everywhere outside of the experience edge for Rozenstruik. Rozenstruik has a massive kickboxing experience. He has more fights in MMA as well. But I give Gane the striking advantage, the volume advantage, the wrestling advantage, the grappling advantage. Maybe not the power advantage, but the majority of the advantages got to go to Gane here. So going through the tape, and I think there's a big weakness in the Rozenstruik game. Overeem was able to take him down twice. Overeem, not really a takedown guy, was able to control him for a decent amount of. He controlled for pretty much the whole round in one of the rounds there. So Rozenstruik didn't really look like he had anything off of his back. And then going a little bit further into the career of Rozenstruik and against Junior Albini, Albini was able to take him down twice. Albini was able to get into mount. Albini was able to take his back. And of course, Albini wasn't able to do anything with that because it's Junior Albini. But if Gane gets you into mount or takes your back, it's going to be over. So I think there's a glaring path to victory for Gane, and that is to work that ground game. Will he use it? I mean, I thought Curtis Blades would use it last week, but even if he doesn't, I think that Gane can win minutes of this fight, ultimately get a finish. But I think the big edge is going to be in that ground game. But on the flip side, I mean, it's heavyweight. It only takes one. We saw it last week. Rozenstruik does have some extreme power, 91% finish rate. So yes, Rozenstruik is very live, but I just think Gane's the more complete fighter, the better fighter. I'm very impressed with this guy. So he's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage as well. So I like Gane a lot, going to have him in the majority of my lineups. I do think you're going to want this fight. It has the best inside the distance prop as well. So give me Gane, but I'm definitely going to have some Rozenstruik as well. Dustin Jacoby, 8,500. I don't love it. I really don't, but he's going to have a ton of output. He has some very good calf kicks. Maybe he does get a finish. There's not going to be much wrestling or grappling or any of that at all for, in fact, but I do think he can rack up the volume, possibly get a stoppage. Grishin has been knocked out 3 times. It's just right in that price range where 8,500, right in the mid-range. I don't hate it, but really question the ceiling for Jacoby in this fight. But, man, he looked really good in his last fight. Of course, that was against Justin Ledet. But I do think he's going to have a massive speed advantage, a massive striking advantage as well. Like I said, the only thing I'm worried about is the Grishin getting takedowns. But if he doesn't, if Jacoby is able to keep this standing, I do think he has a massive advantage, probably get a finish maybe late in the fight. But there really isn't much this week. I mean, just taking a look at the slate as a whole, it's very ugly. It's not like last week where there's a lot of potential finishers. I think the majority of these fights do go to decision and score very low. So Jacoby at 8,500, I do think he can rack up volume and possibly has that finish upside as well. So Ronnie Lawrence, 8,600. I think he's going to be semi-low owned here just because people may not know who he is. But he went out there on the Contender Series, got like 11 or 12 takedowns, and I think that's his path to victory here. And if he does implement that path to victory, he's going to have a decent ceiling on Draftkings. I mean, I've talked about it the past couple of weeks. We've seen with this new scoring system, it's going to favor the wrestlers. It's going to favor the grapplers. And Lawrence at 8,600, if he does go out there and get 5, 6, maybe 7 takedowns, a lot of control time, I do think he can put up a pretty solid score here against Vince Cachero, whose takedown defense isn't all that there. I mean, he got taken down a couple times by Emmers. I seen he was taken down on the regional scene as well, so I don't think his takedown defense is really up to par. I think Lawrence can go out here and get takedowns on the feet. I probably give the edge to Cachero there, but Lawrence is going to be coming forward, bringing the pressure, and then I just think the takedowns in his back pocket are going to play a huge factor in this fight. Don't necessarily see a finish, but you really don't need one. 8,600, get takedowns, control time. I do think he could put up a pretty decent score. Kevin Croom, core play here. I don't love it, but I do want to target this fight. Kevin Croom, 7,400. It just seems way too cheap for me. If I was to line this fight from a DraftKings standpoint, I'd probably take Caceres and put him at 8,200. I'd probably put Kroom at 8,000. I think this fight's going to be very close. I think Kroom is going to present a lot of problems for Caceres, who is somebody that, a lot of his fights are very close. If you can pressure him, he does not deal well with the pressure, and he has struggled with the ground game as well. So Kroom has a ton of submissions on his record. We saw him go out there, hurt Roosevelt Roberts very bad, and finish him in less than a minute in that fight, and I don't think that's going to happen here, but I do think he's going to bring a style that's going to give Caceres some problems, whether it's, coming forward, landing some hard shots, being the more active fighter, landing the more convincing shots. He's a finisher, 77% finish rate, and Caceres is somebody that is a black belt, but sometimes I really question that. I mean, the dude's been submitted 6 times in 13 losses, so he's been finishing almost half his losses by submission. If Kroom is able to get Caceres down, I think he can have a lot of success, and I've seen instances where Kroom didn't necessarily get a takedown. He took the back standing. I've seen Caceres get his back taken standing by Chase Hooper did it. I want to say Jason Knight did it as well. And if Kroom can take his back standing, I think he can possibly get a submission here. But if he does get Caceres down, I think he could possibly get a submission. What I don't really like is the wrestling of Kroom, but he is relentless with it. So if he does get on the mat, I do think he has a good chance to find the sub. Caceres, black belt himself, but like I said, sometimes I really question that he's able to get submitted pretty easily at times. And it's just weird seeing, Chase Hooper, that was a massive favorite, like minus 200 against Caceres, and then seeing Kroom as a pretty sizable dog here, where Kroom's going to have better striking than a Hooper. Kroom's going to have better wrestling than a Hooper. Kroom's going to be more dangerous on the feet than a Hooper. You got to give Hooper probably the grappling advantage, but still, Kroom's not a bad grappler at all himself. So I think Kroom as a core play, like a really fringe core play, is not a bad look, just because I think there's a ton of value, and this is a fight I do want to target. He said it himself in an interview, this fight's not touching the third round. That's music to my ears, especially from a guy at 7,400. GBP plays here, or tournament plays. Magomed Ankalaev, talked about it a little bit. I want to say like 32 of 34 of Kralov's fights have all ended inside the distance, whether he is getting finished or doing the finishing himself. Krylov has been finished in 6 out of his 7 losses. His one decision loss coming by Glover Teixeira. So yeah, I mean, Ankalaev is going to have a pretty solid advantage here on the feet. I think he's going to be the much more technical striker, throwing the cleaner shots. Could he put out Krylov? Possibly, but the only concern is Krylov has never been knocked out at the light heavyweight division. He's only been knocked out at heavyweight, and that was like 8 years ago. So I do think Krylov has a good chin. So that's my only concern, but it is going to be a war here. I do think Ankalaev is the real deal, so I wouldn't be shocked if there is a finish, but I don't know how I feel about it. I think the line's a little bit off here, but I think it's a fine play at 9,300. Ramazan Kurmagomedov, 8,300. Some question marks with this guy coming in here. UFC debut, massive step up in competition. I'm not a big Alex Oliveira guy, but I do think Kurmagomedov has what it takes to beat him here, whether it is, pushing a pace, throwing more volume, maybe possibly getting takedowns, taking Oliveira, pushing him against the cage, wearing him down a little bit. But it's just, Kurmagomedov is very hittable, which I don't like here in this matchup. But if he does win, I will say it's probably a decent score, whether it's a lot of volume, whether it's a lot of control time against the cage, whether it is some takedowns as well. So I think he has a path on Draftkings to actually score decent, and for that reason, I do have some interest in him. Mara Bueno Silva, 8,400. If she wins, I think it's a submission. I think it's an armbar from guard situation. I think on the feet, it's extremely close, especially with De La Rosa making some improvements on the feet. I think in the wrestling, you got to favor De La Rosa there all day. Silva has been taken down, has been controlled before. I do see De La Rosa taking down Silva, controlling her, but if there's going to be an armbar from guard on this card, it's going to be coming from the Bueno Silva side. So just for that reason, I don't hate her at 8,400, but again, I don't love it as well, because if she does not get that armbar, I really question either her winning or scoring well on DraftKings as well. So I like Bueno Silva a little bit as a tournament play, GPP play, but not something I'd go too crazy on. And then Alex Caceres, 8,800. So yeah, like I said, Kroom said it himself. This fight's not going to enter the third round, which, I hope that's the case. I hope this is an exciting fight. Kroom has been finished in 5 out of 13 losses, 3 times by submission, 2 times by KO. What I did notice is when he does go for takedowns, he does leave his neck quite exposed. Caceres could take advantage of that and possibly snatch up a choke there. So I think Caceres is live. I do think Caceres is going to be the better striker, the more technical striker. I think the volume and the more danger is coming from Kroom, but I wouldn't be shocked if Caceres got a submission himself. I mean, he's a black belt. We saw him get a submission last time out. Kroom he's relentless, but he seems like one of those kill or be killed fighters. And like I said, if this fight probably has a good chance of ending inside the distance, I wouldn't be shocked if Caceres won. And Caceres is going to be extremely low owned. I remember Caceres against Chase Hooper. He was like around 10%, and he absolutely went out there and destroyed Chase Hooper. And I know it's there's a big difference between Kroom and Hooper here, but still, I do think Caceres is going to be extremely low owned here, and I do think this is a fight where you will want both sides. My lean is Kroom, especially for the price, but I think either guy that wins here is going to score pretty well. Live dogs, Alex Oliveira, 7,900. He's going to have a massive experience edge. Nurmagomedov does leave a lot of openings with his striking defense. Very green fighter as well. Could he land something hard and put Nurmagomedov out? I wouldn't be shocked if he did. It's just he hasn't been getting in knockouts as of late. But decent finisher. Alex Oliveira is 78% finish rate, 55% by knockout. I do think the knockout's live. I'm not really sure how owned he'll be. I do think he'll gain some ownership. Close fight. The line's very close. It's like almost a pick 'em. But yeah, I don't hate Alex Oliveira as a guy that can definitely win. Using that experience, it's just hard to see which Alex Oliveira is going to show up. Like last time out, it didn't look like he didn't want to be there. The fight before that, I think it was Peter Sabata. He looked good. He looked sharp. He won the fight. So I just don't know which Alex Oliveira is going to show up, and for that reason, it makes it kind of hard to be overconfident in him. But I do think he has a really good chance to win this fight. Jairzinho Rozenstruik, 7,200. Yeah, it's heavyweight. It only takes one. I don't necessarily think Rozenstruik's the better fighter, but sometimes it doesn't matter. We saw last week where Derek Lewis only landed, like I said, like 4 strikes, something crazy like that. And the one of them that landed, it put blades out. And Rozenstruik could do the same thing here, especially if Gane doesn't want to use that ground game, which I would probably recommend here. But if it does stay standing, Rozenstruik, each punch is going to have that puncher's chance in a way to win a fight. I don't see Rozenstruik winning a decision whatsoever, just kind of a low volume guy. But when he does land, he lands hard. I wouldn't be shocked in the slightest if he did put out Gane here. Rozenstruik's going to have the better competition face. He's going to have the more experience as well. So yeah, I will have some Rozenstruik, 7,200. Just because it is a heavyweight fight and just because it is the most likely fight to end inside the distance. Thiago Moises, 7,500. I don't love it, but if he does win, I can see him possibly. I think the sub is live for Moises. Very good black belt on the mat. If this does get onto the mat, he hasn't showed improved takedowns, improved wrestling. He does have a 64% finish rate. He's going to have the better gas tank in this fight, and that's kind of why I like him in this fight in a way. Hernandez is somebody that I really question his chin. I really question his cardio. I really question his durability. I really question his heart at times. I mean, he's somebody that's going to slow down. Of course, he's going to have a pretty big advantage in the striking, but Moises has actually improved his striking pretty decently. And if Moises can get this fight down to the mat, I'm really interested to see what happens, whether it is Moises getting control time or possibly finding a submission as well. But Hernandez has been finished in 2 out of 3 losses, both by knockout. I don't necessarily see Moises knocking him out or anything, but I do think this fight should be lined a little bit closer. I'm not overly sold on Alexander Hernandez as of yet. And Moises is a very young guy, improving. I want to say he's like 25 years old. And I just think if he does get this down to the mat, he's going to have a lot of success. So I do think he's live in a way. Don't love it, but wouldn't be shocked if he did get this down to the mat and have some success there. All right, so Montana De La Rosa, 7,800. Another play I don't love, but there really isn't much down here in the live dogs. So she does have a 75% finish rate, 75% by submission. Don't see her submitting Silva. Don't see her knocking out Silva. If she wins, it's going to be by decision. But with that said, she's going to win. It's going to be because of her takedowns, because of her top control. And that does rack up some points. We've seen in the new Draftkings scoring system where that stuff really does matter. So 7,800, I think she's a live dog. I think she can win. I don't think she has a crazy ceiling, but I do think she can put up some solid output. She did show improved striking in her last fight, and then going out there and getting a decent amount of takedowns, a decent amount of top control, and outside of an armbar from guard, I can definitely see Montana De La Rosa winning a decision and scoring decently, especially for the price of 7,800. And then pump plays, Nikita Krylov, 6,900. Talked about it a lot. The dude has a 97% finish rate. This dude typically doesn't know what a decision is. Ankalaev has been submitted before. Kind of a weird situation there where he was submitted with 1 second left by Paul Craig, but still submitted by Paul Craig regardless. And I do remember Paul Craig went out there and took down Ankalaev twice, which Paul Craig is somebody with not great takedowns to say the least. So if Krylov is able to get Ankalaev down, I do think he can have some success, but Hard to go against Ankalaev, I get it, but if you're looking for a live dog, if you're looking for a live dog with upside, I wouldn't really be shocked if Krylov pulled the upside here and maybe found a submission against Ankalaev. But yeah, 6,900 is pretty crazy, especially for the upside. If he does win, it's going to be optimal. If he does win, it's going to be a finish. I don't see Krylov winning a decision. But yeah, give me Krylov as a nice pump play at 6,900. And then fades, Angela Hill. Just don't really see any reason to play Hill here at 9,200. This fight's going to go to decision. She's not going to get takedown. She's not going to get top control. I see her landing, upwards of 100 significant strikes, but as we now know, significant strikes are now 0.4 DraftKings points instead of 0.5. I do think it's pretty dominant in a way. I just don't see that finishing at that point. 9,200. I'd rather go and get like a Gon. I'd rather go and get like an Ankalaev. I'd rather go and get pretty much anybody else. So yeah, I'm not going to play much Hill, if any at all, at 9,200. All right, just want to remind you guys, it's always a great time to become a member of my Patreon and receive full access to my model. You get all the stats. You get my premium projections, my GPP lineup percentages, my DraftKings article on the Patreon-only Fight Day live stream, access to Discord as well. Great community in there. We always talk fights throughout the week, and then especially on fight days, and have almost 300 members on there, so come support. It really does help out. And yeah, so that's about it, guys. If you have any questions, you can hit me up on Twitter, DFS_numbers. Instagram is DFS by the numbers. Please give this video a like. It does help out a ton. Really does help with the algorithm. And subscribe if you have not yet. Trying to reach 10K. And yeah, tune into the live stream Friday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, as always, on my channel. I'm going to be giving my final thoughts on the card, DraftKings betting, and weigh-ins as well. So that's about it, guys. And good luck for UFC Vegas 20.